Music scene in 1983 with New Edition, a group he formed with 4 friends from the Orchard Park Projects in Boston, where he grew up. At 17, he went solo and rocketed to the top of the R&B charts with hits like My Prerogative. But after Bobby Brown married Whitney Houston, his brilliant career went bust. He got busted for drunk driving, brawling, and blamed for bringing his wife down. Whitney Houston herself spent time in rehab just last month. Tonight, in a Dateline exclusive, Bobby Brown speaks out about his marriage and his demons, his bad boy image, and a blame game that he says has gone on for too long.
We've seen her meteoric rise and puzzling fall. We've watched him go from concerts to courtrooms.
Hi, baby.
Every step, every stumble in the very public marriage of Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown under a microscope.
I'm not perfect. Not a perfect man.
Tonight, Bobby Brown sits down with another woman at his side, his mother, Carol, for a candid talk about addictions and recoveries, the direction of his life, and the troubled state of his marriage.
Carol, are you concerned about him?
I'm concerned about both of them.
Will some time for each of you on your own be a good thing?
Yes. Yes. And I'm not saying separation. I'm saying it's time for daddy to go to work. So, it's time for mommy to be at home.
When he married Whitney Houston in 1992, the rap on Bobby Brown was that the bad boy of R&B would tarnish her highly polished image and career. After all, she was the glamorous diva with a heavenly voice and universal appeal. But Brown says if the marriage has taken a toll on anyone, it's him. That giving up his career for the sake of the marriage sent him speeding down a spiral of self-destruction. He admits that before the marriage, back in the late 80s and early 90s, at the height of his solo career, he was reckless with the millions he was making.
Bought property probably in every state I went to and forgot about it. I would leave cars on the freeway, just because. Say, let's see what happens to it.
And you just leave it there?
And just leave it there.
Card you bought?
Just bought.
But as wild as he was with money, Brown says when it came to drugs, he was the exception in an industry known for excess. He claims he only dabbled.
I would smoke a little tweed here and a little tweed there. But, cocaine was never in my life. Never.
When did that change, Bobby?
I would hate to say when I got married.
But things did change when you got married.
Things changed when I got married because, I stopped touring, I stopped working. And
your career took a back seat.
Yeah,
to
my
hers.
marriage. To my marriage. Not to her career, but to our marriage.
While he all but disappeared from the stage, he began making plenty of other appearances. There were his arrests beginning in 1995 for a bar fight, twice for driving under the influence, and violating parole. There was jail time in Florida and Georgia related to the DUIs. But the enormous media coverage painted him as far worse than the record actually showed. Underlying it all, an escalating alcohol and drug problem.
I would spend days to weeks just high. Just high. On coke, marijuana at the same time, alcohol. I wasn't the type that was going to discriminate.
When it came to drugs.
When it came to drugs, the one thing I'm grateful that I never got into was heroin, because that's a killer.
It's a problem he has denied in other interviews, and one his mother wasn't sure he'd be ready to talk about with us either. But he did speak candidly about drug abuse fed in part, he says, by marital discord.
I would get high and 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 get high. You know what I'm saying? Because I was afraid of coming down. I was afraid of what I had to deal with the next day. Whether me and my wife was going to be arguing or it was going to be loving or what was going to happen,
As distressing as it was to hear, Carol Brown found comfort in her son's acknowledgement of his long-standing drug problem.
sitting here now listening to him has taken such a load off of me. My heart was so heavy with just pain, frustration, wanting to reach to him and him not hearing me.
She called the interview a breakthrough and a blessing.
Makes it hard.
Years of denial from her son dissolving before her eyes.
To hear him sit here and
Acknowledge that this is an issue
That's
for
right.
him, and
Right.
he's got to stay on top of it.
that's right. He has to, day by day.
Day by day. And that's all it is. It's day by day, you know.
Brown says he's been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Now, instead of resorting to alcohol to calm the highs and cocaine for the lows, he says he's on medication to help break that cycle.
It keeps me away from wanting, my cravings. If I could just live through for today, just live through this day without taking a smoke of something, of any, marijuana, without sniffing anything up my nose, then I lived,
Even as he has struggled with his own addiction, Brown has also had to confront an avalanche of negative publicity surrounding himself and his wife.
It seems like every time something bad is reported, maybe it's erratic behavior, maybe it's drug issues, maybe it's a bump in the road of the careers, whether it's you or whether it's Whitney, it always seems like
I'm the bad
the
guy.
blame gets placed on you, Bobby Brown. Some anonymous source says
Bobby's the reason.
Bobby's the reason. It's Bobby's
He's not
fault.
good for her.
He's not good for her.
Well, that's not up to them to decide.
While Brown would not talk about his wife's own drug problems, there have been endless reports in the media, often quoting anonymous inside sources, that he is the one who dragged her down.
Here's a recent example. Bobby told Whitney, don't go to rehab. Although Bobby, 35, understands substance abuse issues firsthand, a source close to Houston says he's always been adamant that Whitney not seek professional help for her own drug demons.
It's not true. I've encouraged us to be clean and healthy, and she's encouraged us, my wife. We're both on the same length as far as us getting help. But I just let other people know you ain't got to put our business in the street.
Quote, same article. Bobby would always try to convince Whitney she did not have a substance abuse problem, says the source. Even when she'd go to him for help and ask his opinion about rehab, he usually ended up screaming and threatening that he wouldn't tolerate it, saying it would publicly embarrass their family.
Well, them sources, they need to watch what they say, and leave my name out of their mouth.
Brown says he can't be sure just who these anonymous sources are so eager to blame him. What he does know, he says, is that love and acceptance has not been a two-way street between his family and Whitney's.
You feel your family has accepted her.
Yes.
Do you feel like her family has not
I don't
accepted
feel like
you?
they have accepted me, totally. No. Well, it's just a mom, so, I feel like a mom doesn't really know me.
Even through
They
11
face-
years, Bobby, she hasn't
11
gotten
years.
to know you? Have you tried to reach
what?
out to her and...
I think me and my mother-in-law, when we talk, we're the best of friends. It's when other people, tell her that this is me, and it's really not me.
Carol, what's your
Yes.
take on this?
I love Whitney. She can be a crazy person. She can be, we can all be crazy at times, The problem with Whitney is that there are too many bad influences
Around her.
around her. It makes it very hard.
If we want help for ourselves and we go get help, it's not about them putting it in the paper and trying to make it seem like good girl, bad guy.
But that bad guy image got a lot more play recently, and the source this time wasn't anonymous. It was Houston herself.
There was a disturbing report in December about an incident at the house. You want to talk about that?
Well, me and my wife kind of got into a little heated, not heated, but little spat.
Wilson County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
Ma'am, I'm at,
On the night of December 7th, 2003, Houston called 911 from their home in Alpharetta, Georgia. According to this police report, she said that Brown threatened to beat her and then struck the left side of her face with his open right hand.
Were drugs involved?
No, not at
No?
all.
On either
That's-
of your parts?
On either of our parts. not whatsoever. No alcohol, no nothing was involved. I think it was just frustration on my behalf, knowing that I had to go out of town, and my wife wasn't there all day, and I didn't know where she was, and she didn't know, and couldn't get in touch with her, and
And so what led to the...
Well, she hit me. She threw something at me, and it just wasn't. It wasn't.
Escalated?
It escalated. One thing I didn't understand is that it turned out to look like that I hit her, or...
You didn't hit her?
No, no.
You didn't slap her?
No.
But the police report cited visible injuries to her face, a bruise on the cheek, and a cut inside her upper lip.
So the cut on the lip that's in the police report?
I don't know what they're talking about,
Did not happen?
Did not happen. I got big hands, man. I would hurt her, It would be more than just a little cut in the lip.
Why do you think she called the police?
My wife has called the police many times, playing around, but,
So, Bobby, I mean, are you saying that this was made up?
Well, I'm not saying it was
or
made up.
exaggerated? I mean, I just
It's
want to be clear about
exaggerated,
it.
basically. It was just, we play, like you play like, no. It was just like, we play like that. We play slapbox. We slapbox. That's what we do. And, I guess one is, she just took it a little serious. And she'll tell you the same thing, that it was just a little something in the...
Houston did accompany Brown when he turned himself into police 4 days later to face a single misdemeanor charge of battery. Standing by her husband like so many times before.
Are you a good husband?
I am a great husband, I believe. I believe I'm an excellent husband.
And father?
I enjoy spending as much time as I possibly can with him.
But in March, his commitment to his children was also called into question.
Bobby, there was a picture of you in court in Boston that sent a very different message. The headlines were...
Deadbeat dad.
Bobby, you've been called a deadbeat dad.
In family court in Massachusetts, Brown was charged with failing to pay child support for his 2 children from a previous relationship. Since May 2003, a total of $63,000.
So what happened? How come the checks weren't being sent?
Usually that is automatically sent, automatically sent, automatically sent. I was going through a lot of things during that last year, from courts situations to marital problems. I was not paying attention to someone paying the monthly of my children.
So you're not in control of that money?
I haven't been, no. I leave all my bills, all the bills to my wife to, like Bill Cosby said, Camille handles all the monies in the house. Whitney handles all of the bills in the house.
His lawyer told the judge that Brown relies completely on his wife for money, that the former multimillionaire has no income, no assets of his own.
Take Mr. Brown into custody.
So Brown spent the night in jail until friends of his, not his wife, loaned him the money to pay the outstanding debt. As for his claim that his wife failed to pay the child support bills, Brown offered no explanation as to why, and whether it might be part of a larger rift in his marriage.
It strikes me hearing you talk, Bobby, that as you have struggled with dependency on alcohol or drugs, there's been a financial dependency on Whitney.
Yeah.
How important is it going to be for you to get your income back?
Very, very important. As far as being able to, do something every day that keeps me away from the demons that, bite at me.
He's made mistakes. Who in the world hasn't? But nobody truly knows his heart. And that's what hurts me as his mother.
After all he's been through, Brown says he's now ready for a shot at the most difficult act of all, a comeback. All he wants, he says, is a fair shake.
I'm gonna work real hard at trying to be a little bit more perfect every day.
How about just a little better?
A little better. That's the better word. Thank you. Thank you for that word. But a little bit better every day.
Brown acknowledges that getting back to work may mean time away from his wife and their daughter, Bobby Christina. But wherever that road leads, he hopes it won't put too much distance between them.
If we want to be apart from each other, then we'll be apart from each other. If we want to be together, then we'll be together. Until that day that she does not want to be around me, I'm going to love her.
It's going to take hearing that from her
Yes.
to convince you
To
she doesn't
convince
want to be
me.
around you.
Yes.
And you haven't heard it yet.
I haven't heard it yet. So when she says it, there it is.
We asked if Whitney Houston had any comment. Her spokesperson declined. Bobby Brown will be back in court next week for a hearing on that domestic abuse charge. As for the future, there is talk of recording again and a possible reality show about his day-to-day life and return to the music world.